This is this is Victoria Rumble Room with Robin Adair and John Juricic. And Johnny, it's so great to get that music howling away, gets the adrenaline going. I feel so much better now. And we do love to having these squabbles and these little battles. We're never bloody, but we don't mind getting pugilistic. And I'm feeling really, really pugilistic right now about BC's Premier David Eby. He's driving me absolutely crazy right now. He's saying, we don't want Northwest oil. We don't want the pipeline to go across the Northwest. There was a pipeline proposal, and Justin Trudeau, the ever popular Justin Trudeau, stopped the project. And now Danielle Smith from Alberta says, we're going to put up money. We've got business people lined up. They just want to see the right regulations. And you better believe that they're going to get in there and build that pipeline. David Eby says, no backers, no interest, no support from the First Nations. We're not doing it. And I've got all these shovel-ready projects to go. And I don't see those projects, Johnny. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm telling you, I completely share that viewpoint, okay? I feel like rumbling all over the place. It would be something if BC's economic situation was in a great place. It would be something if within the last 9 months, we didn't have a life-changing election in which the economies of the world have completely shifted all over the place, and Canada is at great threat at losing so many of their economic opportunities. It would be something different if all that didn't exist. It would be something, but you know, he is in trouble. And so start accepting
the province is in trouble. The province is in trouble. And you know,
yes,
we see all these folks out there with their picket signs from the BCGEU, the BC Government Employees Union. They want more money. They want a better living wage. And right now we're running these massive, massive deficits and debt. How the hell are we supposed to pay for more money for our civil servants?
Right.
I've nothing against people working for government being well paid. The money doesn't grow on trees. And here's a way for us to immediately do something about enhancing our bottom line. And David Eby says, no, we're not going to do that. We don't have the First Nations on board, he says. But the First Nations along the pipeline for the LNG said yes. They negotiated with them. Nation by nation, that's how you do it. It's not these umbrella groups that come in and say, we're the Great Bear Rainforest Group, and we say no. Well, that's fine. That's one group. And there's so many different First Nations, so many different opinions, so many negotiations that have to happen. And to just slam the door. And of course, David Eby, what's he saying? British Columbians don't want this. They've had opinion polls that show overwhelmingly people in the province are in favor of pipelines. Yes. Overwhelmingly.
Yes.
People voted for Mark Carney and the federal Liberals because they want pipelines and economic development.
Yes.
David Eby has the slimmest lead right now in the House. He's barely hanging on. Thanks in part, I think, to what's going on the conservative side. We'll talk to Mark MacDonald from the Business Examiner about that in a few minutes. But you know, David Eby has to wake up. You know, John Horgan set a really good template for the NDP. He said yes to LNG. Originally, he said no to the double pipeline that went down to Port Moody and out through the south coast. But eventually, he said, well, that's got to go. That's got to go as well. The NDP originally said no to the Site C Dam, and now, of course, they're wearing hard hats up there. I mean, you got to get on board with this stuff. Yes, the First Nations have to be brought in. Yes, they have to see an economic upside and have to be part of the solution. But to slam the door universally because you just don't like it, David Eby, is a terrible, terrible blunder.
On top of that, in the federal election, all the NDP votes voted for the Liberals. They were wiped out in BC federally. Day after day, Trump is imposing new tariffs on lumber, on mining, on who knows what. We're just shutting, you can't just shut down and pretend it was 10 years ago. It is not. It's a new world. We got to protect ourselves, and we have to generate money because our biggest trading partner is shutting us out.
Absolutely. And speaking of that trading partner, they got to get rid of this ambassador that we have in Ottawa.
Yes.
He is absolutely out of control. I mean, I just think what's his name again? It's Pete Hoekstra. Pete Hoekstra, and he goes on across the country saying that Canada somehow is being anti-American and isn't showing loyalty to the United States and how bad this is. And like we've just sort of, this has all happened out of the blue. Not that Donald Trump threatened Canada's sovereignty and said we should become the 51st
just recently,
state.
Again.
And he arbitrarily put these massive tariffs on our steel and aluminum. And we're supposed to just go, oh, thank you, Donald Trump. That's so wonderful. Right. Thank you, Mr. Hoekstra, for pointing out these things. They should get rid of this guy. He's a clown. Now he's saying we have to buy the American version of the fighter jet, not the competition from Europe, or NORAD could be threatened. Because we can't have jets that we don't own flying around over our skies. We have to have, our own American-made planes. He's threatening us again. Yeah. And we're supposed to say, thank you. Kick us here, kick us there. I say kick him out of the country. So that's what I'm saying.
The Rumble Room.
I'm feeling really pugilistic this morning. God, what can I say?
Love it. Well, we should bring in our guests and get them involved with this stuff.
Let's do it. We haven't talked to Mark MacDonald in quite a while, not since we actually closed the Rumble Room down for the summer. And it's going to be great to have him back from the Business Examiner. And let's zoom him in now.
Wow. After that introduction and commentary, Robin, I cannot wait to introduce a fellow Rumbler who's, I'm sure, just brimming with stuff to say. Mark MacDonald, Business Examiner columnist, and self-professed friend of Robin Adair. Hey, you're my friend too, You betcha. How you been, buddy?
Just great, thanks. Had a great summer and looking forward to a busy fall. Lots of stuff happening, as you know.
Oh my God, is there ever?
So I did mention in our opening comments that the NDP don't exactly have a huge advantage down at the legislature. They're acting like they do, and I saw a CBC interviewer really poking away at the Premier of Alberta, saying, "Well, BC's not in favor of this. How will we ever get this through?" And you'd think, well, how long will we have the NDP in power the way things are going? And then you look at over what's going on with Rustad. You look at all the bleeding going on over there, and MLAs walking and setting up separate parties, and a high-level MLA like Eleanor Sturko is given her walking papers. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence that they're ready to form government. How do you view all this, Mark?
Well, I got to say this. Nobody does a circular firing squad better than the Conservatives, right? There's nobody, they don't even need an opposition. They just blast themselves to oblivion, right?
Hey, BC United was pretty good at it. Looks like the Conservatives have outdone them.
Yeah, they have, and it's amazing. I don't know. They have these people that get stuck on these principles, which are not really principles, they're their own ideas, and they won't budge. And then, it's always been a coalition or an ability to compromise that's been able to get the NDP out, and they just keep kicking themselves in the nether regions.
Well, now, is this a question? Is it a question of leadership in your mind? I mean, is Rustad was in there? He ran a fairly effective campaign. He got a lot more people elected than a lot of people thought he was going to. But at this point, is he really the guy to carry the ball for the Conservatives going forward?
I don't really think so. I think he's the reluctant leader. I don't even, if you look back 5-10 years ago, I don't think he ever saw himself as the leader. So he got it by default. I thought what Falcon did by falling on the sword was really good for British Columbia. But if the Conservatives have proven anything, that they're not capable of running a good government right now. You got to stop fighting amongst themselves. The coalition, and Robin, you ran for the BC Libs, and I ran for the BC Libs in nomination, and they were always able to bridge, different sides
of the right
fight the NDP, and they forfeited that now. So it's frustrating to watch. Actually, it's all. If I wasn't didn't fill my eyes with tears, I'd probably laugh.
Mark, as I explained a little bit earlier, with some frustration, these are unprecedented times.
Yeah.
Things are happening here. Okay, hypothetically, all right. I've worked through 6 or 7 recessions in my lifetime. In every instance, I was able to sort of forecast what I should do, how I should react, how my business should change, because there was some predictability to it all. There's none. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now. So we have to react. We have to be aggressive. And on top of that, The business that I'm owning, i.e. the BC government, is in debt. I'm trying to sell it to you. The first thing you would do to me, Mark, is go, are you kidding? You got to get rid of your debt before I'm going to buy. Who's going to invest in BC? I can't believe it. So what, Mark, tell me, is there any hope for the Conservatives to get out and organize themselves against this Eby government?
I'm not so sure. This is discouraging. And if I can answer that, after the federal election, my wife and I went to France. And so we were there for 3 weeks, and it was like kind of detox, right? And one thing I noticed was, that nobody in Europe that we bumped into or newscast anything talks about Canada. They don't care what Canada does. They don't care what Canada thinks. So we have this great big inflated version of who we are and what we're doing that nobody in the world subscribes to. Nobody's listening to us, following us in any kind of a form. So it's concerning to me that, and go back to municipal governments, which is that the NDP has used those as their farm teams for MLAs and MPs. The non-NDPs don't have that. So QP basically runs most councils on the island and in BC by default. And so we don't have that to pull from. I think the biggest thing to watch really right now, John, is Alberta. And even the pronouncement by Danielle Smith about we're going to build the pipeline, that's she's trying to force somebody's hand here. Danielle Smith is trying to press the issue, right, with saying we're going to build a pipeline. Eby's basically said no. Carney has waffled. And I think, to Smith's credit, she's learned how to play politics a little better over the years. And the ball is in Carney's court. She's been patient with him. And so if that happens, that's a game changer. But what happens if it doesn't? And that's my concern. And I noticed, did you see that note? There was a group of Alberta separatists claiming that they had this clandestine meeting with Trump's senior government about possibilities in the future. So that's the wild card. What is Smith going to do? She's aggressive. And so, I mean, honestly, I think that more than anything on the ground, because we're not prepared here, non-NDP wise, an Alberta move in some ways is going to be good for British Columbia somehow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that, actually. I think Alberta is the best thing going right now because our opposition is not at the minute doing what it needs to do. So, Mark, you brought up Carney and the Liberals. They've made a lot of promises. They said there's going to be all these shovel-in-the-ground projects that'll be approved and underway. They unveiled the first 5. Most of those actually were things that had already been announced, so it's not like this is all groundbreaking. They're going to make more pronouncements and more announcements in November. And we're all wondering, what's it going to be and how profound will it be and how quickly can this stuff get done, because we're in a tough spot. What are your feelings about what Carney's promising? It's dangerous to make promises and expect instant results. And I think the public, though, is really expecting it.
Yeah, I think everybody's hoping that Carney is the real deal, right? I mean, everybody. I'm not talking partisan stuff.
Right.
I'm thinking, right? So I think he's been cut a lot of slack, and I'm hoping he delivers, honestly. But was thinking about this today. He's a banker, and there's a difference between a banker and a business person, because the banker deals with somebody else's money and spends it, whatever. So he has a strong resume, but as far as understanding what small business people like, he doesn't really get that, because he doesn't sign the front of the checks, he signs the back of the checks, right? So that's how much gas is really in the tank. It depends on who you talk to, if he did a good job or a bad job in England. And then Harper had to step in and say, well, by the way, it was I hired him, he worked for me, right? He was taking credit for getting us through that terrible recession. So I don't know. I think I'm really hopeful. But again, I think Smith has pushed the envelope forward. Like, in other words, without saying so, you better have us on that next list or look out. So,
yeah. Okay, here, I got a question for you, but first it needs context. The Croatian sensation, context. So I've been voting Liberal for a while. First time with Trudeau, when he promised that he would continue the deficit, that he would spend a lot of money because we were going to have programs and resources and revenue that would get rid of that. Guess what? None of that happened. We all know that. And he got booted out because of that. Now we got the same thing. We've got liberals saying we're going to spend a bazillion gajillion dollars, but it's all going to be paid for. I've heard this story before, okay? And I'm starting to lose faith. And the thing about the Canadian electorate now, if I'm representative whatsoever of that electorate, is that we are very impatient right now. No room for a couple years down the road. I want these things now, and everyone is feeling like I am. Believe me. So back to the BC situation, it's equivalent to the federal one. What do we do if he doesn't deliver? Is the conservative, like the NDP's not ready to bring down the government?
No.
What?
Well, I think if you want some change in the federal Liberal, the Quebec again has to be the hand that's played by the Conservatives. I mean, Mulroney did that with Bouchard, right? And then they split off and became the Bloc. So I think there's that, but I don't know. You know, when I watch the Conservatives, I go, this. Are you a Monty Python fan at all?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Robin even does them in skits.
Okay, you remember this line? Now for something completely different.
Yes,
and it's exactly the same.
A man with three buttocks.
Exactly the same election thing every single time,
right?
And it's just, you know, like, and I can't for the life of me figure this one out. We're going to defund the CBC. Now it is the public broadcaster. It's the only way to reach many Canadians. That's their news source. What do you think that the CBC staff is going to do?
It's so biased, though. I mean, come on, Mark. I don't have to say.
No,
this
I know
you.
it is.
You of all people, it's the most biased outlet in the world. That one. It's.
Yeah, but you're telling
they
them
just
that you're
hate the Conservatives. They hate they'd hate you, Mark, if they only had a chance.
Well, I know, but the thing is, but why tell them that they're going to fire them with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you just they're only going to go on the self-defense. So
well, conservatives have to do something different. They were 25 points ahead about a year ago, and then just blew it in the election. I listened to them every day, and I loved every single policy that was brought out, and that was ignored. It was overwhelmed by, I'm going to beat Trump, I'm going to change the world, I've got a better manager. None of that is happening so far. I don't know what the libs are promising, except more committees to build more committees, to listen to other committees. Geez, if they don't...
Johnny, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but the Conservatives had the opportunity and they blew it.
Yes.
I mean, they really had a door wide open. Donald Trump was clearly the enemy in this whole thing. And Pierre Poilievre, who's one of the most combative people we've had in the House of Commons in years, couldn't get his dander up about Trump. He was soft pedaling because he thought, I got all these votes in Alberta and southern Saskatchewan. I don't want to upset those people. They would have voted Conservative anyway.
Absolutely.
He could have gone after Trump, but he left the door wide open for Carney to march in and say, elbows up, and pose with hockey players and talk about how he was going to stand up to Donald Trump. And Canadians wanted that. And for some reason, the Conservatives had a deaf ear to it, and they've paid a terrible price.
Yes.
And Pierre Poilievre's accountable for that. I blame him for not seeing what was clear to most Canadians.
Well, I could peel back the onion just a bit. I mean, Jenny Byrne was a big part of that. She's something else. But behind the scenes, there's a group, and I don't even know who they are by name, but there's a group of conservative think tank people that come up with these strategies that put in people like Byrne and they're unwilling to admit that they need to adjust. And Poilievre has been, he's an attack dog, right? He was that for Harper, he focused on one thing, and that was Trudeau. And when Trudeau left, all the oxygen got sucked out of the room, and it was a fresh start for the Libs. So that's just bad politics. That's poor planning.
Right.
And that's judgment, and that bothers me. I don't see good judgment there.
Well, I mean, it's hard to see some of those same faces running our government after all these years and all these disappointments. But to your earlier comments, I'm with the wide majority of Canadians who are still willing to give Carney a chance.
Yes,
my feeling is,
me too.
let's see what things are like in a year. If we're having a really different conversation, because a lot of big things have been announced and we're moving forward, thanks to Mark Carney, I'll be the first to sing his praises. And I was so disappointed during that election about the way the Conservatives handled the whole Trump thing. So let's just shift into Trump for a minute. That's always good. How can we have a conversation without, dealing with the man? He's talking to all the military commanders that he pulled in from all around the world. I think 800 top generals from all over the globe coming down to talk to him in the U.S. and he's giving them this big rambling speech, including talking about defense and how Canada wants into our defense program, but they'd be wiser to become the 51st state. I don't know why they don't go for that, and blah blah blah. We thought that was over, Mark. I don't think it's gone anywhere, and we have an ambassador from the U.S. who makes the same kind of noises. It's still very anti-Canadian. They twist it around and say we're somehow being anti-American, but really they've got the ball rolling on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, the most predictable thing about Trump is his unpredictability, right? But I always preface this, and I have a friend I go back and forth with. I said, listen, this is the old great Canadian decaroo. At least we're not Americans, or we focus on their problems and we say, we have no problems compared to that. Well, they have all their warts for the whole world to see, and it's ugly at times. But Canada's problems are Canada's problems. They're not created by Trump. They're exacerbated maybe in some kind of language of, tariffs and things like that. But these are our policies that Canadians need to own. We're the ones that sat back and did nothing to expand our secondary markets for oil and gas and natural gas. The Germans and the Japanese came begging, and Trudeau says there's no business case for it. So this is Canada's own stupidity. And I don't think of myself as a Trump supporter. I try to think of myself as a Trump understander, and I've just found out it's impossible to understand it, right? But honestly, what on earth does elbows up mean?
Well, now the elbows aren't really up, are they? It's just posturing. But with Donald Trump, I mean, he's made all these big bold announcements, and I guess the American people are sort of dealing with that. And as you say, we are on the sidelines. He has in some ways done Canada a favor, hasn't he? I mean, by threatening us on all these different levels. Well, now we're suddenly talking about bringing down internal barriers within the country, our internal tariffs. Yeah. Whoever thought internal tariffs was a big deal until we hear about it now? There's been some bad behavior in Canada and some laziness that I'd suggest is now finally being dealt with because we have to.
I agree, Robin, and the big thing I think that Trump can bring to the table is defeating supply management, because no Canadian politician is willing to take that on. And whether we realize that or not, that is subsidized industry. I understand why they did it in agriculture to deal with droughts and bad weather forecasts and just bugs and everything else that can hinder your crops. But it's long past that point. Next time you're in Lower Mainland, drive around the farms. They have absolute mansions on those farms. It used to be, remember the old farmhouse, 2 bedrooms and an outhouse? It's not like that anymore, right? So if Trump is able to, he's addressing that with, you guys are subsidizing industry, and we say, oh, no, we're not. Well, that's exactly what supply management is. And millions of gallons of milk are just thrown into the garbage because it's past somebody's quota, or even the BC forest, thing, and now we're getting attacked with more tariffs. Yeah. It's just like, no, the BC government consistently funds and regulates the forest industry. So we're a victim of our own policies. I said before this, and it's back up 10, 15 years, Canada's forest industry, particularly BC's, did okay because we were shipping it all to Asia. So open up those markets. Forget about the easy softball lob into the States and develop these other secondary markets. Then if Trump says tariffs, you say, go for it. Because you know what? We're busy with our clients in other parts of the world.
Yeah, and we talk about remanufacturing now. That's a popular one. But they've tried it before. They tried it back in the Harcourt years. Remember, they set up a remanufacturing plant in Chemainus, and it was much trumpeted. And I only think it stayed open 2 years. I mean, it wasn't profitable. We've got to find models that actually work. And the other thing, just out of curiosity, I don't know if you know much about it, this carbon replacement program that the Albertans are talking about, so that we can have carbon-free bitumen to be able to send across the country. Is that realistic, or is that just an idea that maybe would be nice if it actually worked.
I think the carbon conversation kind of makes me laugh because we have something that deals with carbon. It's called trees. They feed off of, you know what I mean? We're always get rid of carbon dioxide. Well, no, the whole creation works in a cycle where they need carbon dioxide to feed the trees. So I don't know. I just think it's baffling.
Well, what Robin's alluding to, and which I've questioned other guests about, is where has the green agenda gone? Where has that climate agenda gone? It's right off the pages. It's right off the discussion points, as it should be.
It has a strong lobby in BC still, though, John.
Yeah, exactly, and it hasn't gone away. When does that pop back up? I hope not for a while until we start to generate some money in our country.
Well, I think almost every major green project or pet policy is an enemy of commerce, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't want clean air? Who doesn't want less pollution? We all do, but we've got to find a way to make it pay.
Yeah, we want affordable housing. We want better health care. We clearly want better and stronger military. Let's have some fun at the end of our interview here, Mark, okay?
Okay.
Because we haven't had any fun up until now.
I know.
It's been so dour and boring.
Okay. So we went provincial, we went federal, then we went to international. Let's bring it back to local. So one of the conversations I've heard in rumors and gossiping amongst this and that is that the right will be splitting up into numerous different parties as the Conservative Party breaks up ostensibly, provincially. And one of those parties could manifest itself as the Vancouver Island Party. Now, this sort of thing has been bubbling around for 40 years, I think. Yes. Are you going to be the new leader of the Vancouver Island Party, Mark MacDonald?
You know what? I would like to be the lieutenant, but the leader has to be Stu Young. I love Stu Young. Stu Young is my favorite municipal politician. If Stu's in, we're all in.
Well, the way it's blowing up these days, you never know.
I heard he's coming back to run for mayor in Langford.
Absolutely he is. Yeah. Yes, sir.
He's excellent. I love
It'd be
Stu
a relief to have him back. It'd be a relief to have him back. And we just had the UBCM in Victoria, and those guys have to be just in despair. I mean, the way the feds and the province have just dumped all their problems on the streets of our cities, not just Victoria, but a lot of our cities, right, and towns right across the province now of this terrible mess, and there's no way out. And no one goes to jail. No one gets incarcerated. It just goes on and on and on. And it doesn't seem to be a plan. And municipal guys, they're just shaking their heads because they get the most blame because they're the people everybody sees day to day.
Well, I think too, and it's a blame game, right? The cities blame the province blames the feds blame the province, and nobody's willing to do what needs to be done. And you remember those old vagrancy laws? There used to be. Where are those?
Well, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, I hear, through those out.
There you go. And then we also have situations where these people will not help themselves. They need to be helped, and those will be putting them into situations where they have their own place to live with proper care. So those are hard things for a politician to do, because let's face it, and I do write about this, is the liberals, or the left, sorry, they cater to their electorate. That is the homeless and the free drugs. You vote for me, I'll get free drugs, and then we'll just drive the price of housing down. They can't. Actually, what they do is they end up with subsidized housing, but those are the two, they cater to their base. And the tough things that need to be done is, treatment, not free drugs. And if you won't look after yourself, you're not living on our streets. Why on earth, Robin and John, the most expensive real estate in any area in town is the waterfront, right? And it's vacated now, just given over to homeless people that just sprawl all over the place and passed out all day long. Why do we allow that, right? The whole town loses, right? We need to get proper treatment and help for these people. But the NDP particularly, and I told my longtime NDP friend, I said, you guys got it all figured out. All you do is tell them, oh, we'll give you $50 more a month in welfare, and they'll vote for you. And they do.
They do.
Well, I wish the NDP well, if they can come up with a real plan that really solves the problem. I don't care where the solution comes from. It can come from the left. It can come from the Green Party. as far as I'm concerned, but somebody has to do something about this. It's just gone on, and all I see are certain parties and certain politicians enabling this situation and not
Absolutely.
finding a solution.
Absolutely, Rob. 100% agree.
Okay, Mark,
Good neighbors.
I'm going to swing to the other side. Okay,
Okay.
I'm having some fun here. I talked about I talked about the Conservatives provincially collapsing, splintering. A brand new Green Party president has been elected in BC.
Mhm.
Young woman, left of left of left of left. She's falling off the left cliff. I don't know.
Emily Lowen.
However, as much as I have no understanding of that side of politics, to what degree will the left splinter with a resurgent youth Green vote? Okay, we might think that it's gone underground. We might think it's non-existent. It's not. They will vote for those folks. What do you think about that?
Well, I have this question I want to ask all the time. Why on earth is Elizabeth May anything? She is the biggest gas bag in the South Vancouver Island. She hasn't done a darn thing.
She happens to be balance of power in this country.
I know, it's crazy. and so you have the Green Party's never had it so good. They will basically the balance of power in Victoria as well, right? So it's
but
again,
to what degree and this is a demographic question, and to Robin's point, how frustrated we are. But guess what? We're all sitting on houses. We all have a lifetime of equity and assets that we've built up. Our children do not. So at some point they're going to be frustrated and go, the whole lot of you can't solve my problem. I'm going to vote for that crazy person over there.
Or I'm going to vote on the right. A lot of young people are also turning to the Conservatives. So it's not exclusively going to the Green Party.
Yes.
Your point, John, there are younger political people coming up now with different ideas. And I don't claim to understand them, but we're rapidly, our generation's not the majority that it used to be.
Yes.
No, it's not. No. Yeah, it's a tough one. And the only thing if I look at the polls and that, there's still a majority of non-left British Columbians, but they have to stop fighting. And back to Gordon Campbell, and you ran when Gordon was running, Robin, and as Premier, I think he did an excellent job. Is he had both sides, Liberals and Conservatives, under the same tent. That has to happen again. And, even the federal Liberals, they cater to the far left and some things like that. It makes it really, really hard for far right Conservatives to unite with that. But we've got to start looking at the greater good, and that is it's not good for governments that are controlled and funded by public sector unions to write contracts to those same public sector unions. They're running the province. It's not good, right? It's not good for them either long term, right? And so no, we need to coalesce and get a rethink and a big tent on the non-left. Otherwise, they're just going to continue to run rampant, and their only answer is deficit. Their only thing for financial improvement is more taxation. That's the only thing they understand. They don't get it.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for being on our show. This has been great. We're going to get you back again often because this is a voice that people need to hear. I believe you've always got good stuff. You can think these things through in your columns, then bring them on the Rumble Room. And so we're gonna sign off now, Johnny, and we're going to say what we always like to say at the end of the show: Rumble on.
Great, always great to see you guys.